This is the Redline webinar. Today we are doing Where Did the Money Go? How to fix your cash flow without just cutting costs. Now I'll let Nancy, our president, take it away.
Thanks, Jacob. Hi, everyone. I am, as Jacob said, I'm Nancy Williamson, CPA, and this is my son, Dylan Williamson, the CEO, our tax strategist, and garage diesel truck enthusiast. Together, we help auto shop owners get real visibility into their numbers, not just for tax season, but for everyday decisions. This webinar is part of a series we're doing to bring clarity to one of the most frustrating questions we hear from shop owners, which is, why do my books say I made money, but my bank account and my tax bill on April 15th tell a different story? The truth is, profit doesn't equal cash. And if you're not tracking the right things or getting the right financial guidance, you'll always feel like you're chasing your tail. Today, I hope that we show you how to catch financial issues early, whether you're doing it yourself or working with a strategic partner like a fractional CFO. The key is you have to stay proactive and focused and not reactive only. So that's the intro. Again, as Jacob said, we are Redline business advisors. We help automotive shop owners gain clarity and control over their financial. Our mission is to ensure that business owners have financial peace. We offer monthly bookkeeping, profit first cash flow management, tax strategy, tax preparation, and fractional CFO services all under one roof. Earlier, probably 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, I had the opportunity to talk to a shop owner who owns 6 locations. He told me his biggest goal is to be able to sleep better at night. He wants to know that he's doing everything he reasonably can to protect and preserve his business. And that really stuck with me because it's exactly why we created this series. As we said, RBA works exclusively with auto shop owners. Our entire mission is built around helping you go from reactive to proactive, so you're just not scrambling to survive a tax season or guessing at cash flow. We provide, as I mentioned, we provide monthly bookkeeping, profit first, tax strategy, and fractional CFO services. So let's talk about our previous webinars that we've done. As Jacob said, you can find us on YouTube, searching for Redline Business Advisors, and it's also on our website under the blog section, redlineba.com. We just got through, let's see, last month we did our second webinar on how to know if your books are accurate. And then we're doing this one on cash flow today. Our next webinar will be on smart tax moves to give you some time to put in some tax strategies before the end of the year. The webinar after that will be profit or just busy. So what are we doing here running this business? And number 6 will be the owner scorecard. If you have anything that you'd like us to discuss more, please feel free to contact Gary. I know he's sending you guys emails and reaching out, and we'd love to hear your thoughts because we want to make this as meaningful as possible.
Why being profitable doesn't always mean you have cash. We're gonna break that down, where it goes, and what that specifically means and how to read that. We're gonna go over 5 cash flow levers. We're gonna go over how to spot root causes of cash problems, difference between bookkeeping and strategic financial oversight, and how profit first works. So if we go to the next slide, please. Why are you still struggling even with a bookkeeper? A lot of this, I think, basically comes down to using your financials. Even if you have a bookkeeper and they do the best job in the world and everything is perfect and beautiful, if you're not looking at it, or if you don't maybe have it broken out in useful ways, or you're not sitting back and saying, what is this telling me? It won't be helpful for you, right? The other things you got to look at is, these reports are historical, they're not futuristic, predictive, what's about to happen. This is what's been happening. And so you always have to take that into account. If you don't have a CFO, you need a system that thinks like one, right? If you don't feel comfortable reading the numbers, there's so many ways you can go about it. You can listen to these webinars, you can YouTube it, you can go to blogs, or you can hire fractional CFO services or people that can teach you and tell you how to read your numbers. So Next slide. Is this you? Do you look profitable on paper? Don't have cash in the bank though, right? Struggling to make payroll, struggling to pay yourself what you want to be paid. Tax bill comes out of nowhere and you have no cash, but how do you owe more money? And do your spending patterns and pricing not support the cash flow that you have? As Nancy said earlier, just because your P&L, your profit and loss says you're profitable, that doesn't mean that you're cash flow positive, right? A lot of things that people don't realize is your debt payments aren't on there, right? Think of it even on a personal side. Your mortgage payment is always a huge part of your personal finances, right? But a lot of people don't realize that if you're paying an SBA loan, automotive loans, all that good stuff, it's not included on your P&L. So that could be detracting from that profitability. Depending on how you're structured as an entity, your payments to yourself might not be included on the P&L, or only a portion of them are. There's so many things that go into that make a world of difference. And so you have to take multiple things into consideration. You need to be looking at your balance sheet, your P&L, your statement of cash flow. To me, the balance sheet and the statement of cash flow are always the most daunting. I think most people are comfortable to look at their income statement, their P&L. But you need to know what it's telling you on a very, very regular basis. The more real time, the better, right? So next slide, we can dive in a little bit deeper. Why profitable shops still run out of money? Revenue booked but not collected. On your balance sheet, you're going to see that in accounts receivable. It's not, your bank account number is not going to be as big as you want it to be, and accounts receivable is going to be a massive number, but hey, it shows profit. You haven't collected it yet. Inventory and parts purchases not sold yet, right? You have a lot of cash tied up in your inventory. I know this is way bigger for tire shops. They always have a ton of money wrapped up in tires on the shelves. Repair shops, I know a lot of you guys do like just in time, where you order it that morning and Worldpac delivers it in the afternoon. But inventory can definitely be a big part of that. Loan payments, right? Never on your P&L, only the interest that you pay on there, or the interest that you pay on your credit card. Paying your credit card off doesn't go on your P&L. All those liabilities, the principal amounts, never touch the P&L. Right, and distributions and taxes not reflected on the P&L. And unless you're a C corp, a full-blown corporation, you're not going to see those things on your P&L. These things make a world of difference in why you can show profitability but not cash.
So what we want to do is say, let's look at these 5 cash flow levers. Okay, let's try to bridge the gap between why you're profitable on paper, but there's no cash in the bank. So, you're thinking, okay, all of this talk, okay, I know that all I'm looking at is the P&L, but there's other things. What are those other things that you should be looking at? So let's start, like Dylan mentioned, the timing of the inflows and the outflows. Are you collecting money fast enough? Especially if you have fleet operations and the person who owns the fleet pays you on accounts receivable. That's going to have a huge effect on your cash flow. So you need to look and keep track of your outstanding accounts receivable very frequently and see if there's a way that you can close the gap between the time when you completed the job and when you receive payment. So be really proactive on your accounts receivable. At the same time, look at your vendor terms. Those payments to Worldpac and your other parts suppliers, AutoZone, all of those kinds of things affect how much cash you have in the bank. So try to time when those big payments go out on when you receive the cash from the customer to pay for the part that went on the car. So think about those kinds of things. The timing between when you receive the cash and when you have to pay out for the parts is critical. The third thing I want to talk about is owner draws versus your reinvestments. If you're pulling out the money without planning, that's going to cause a problem. You have to remember that I know you have to fund your household, you have to fund your personal expenses, but you also need to fund for equipment, maybe another service rider, and just plain reserves for when cash flow is slow. So be mindful of how much money you're taking out and how you're going to plan for these one-time expenses that are coming up. So that's where cash flow forecasting comes into play. Again, debt servicing is another big thing. Not debt. Debt is not bad. It's a great way. You might have bought the business with debt that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford. But paying down that debt aggressively or not planning for the debt payment or balloon payments can catch you unawares. Debt drains cash and it doesn't show up on your P&L. So that's where that cash flow forecasting comes into play. And then your revenue model. Um, Pricing is very emotional. It's hard to raise prices. So, but that's not, shouldn't stop you from raising prices. It does have an emotional draw on your heart when you change those numbers, but it's critical to the lifeblood of your business that you do that regularly. So know what your competitors are charging, know what your margins are. Just look at the next three guys down the street that are doing the same thing you do. What are their labor rates? What are they charging for parts? And then overhead creep. Be really, really careful about overhead creep. We can buy apps on our phones that cost $3.99. That's one thing, but there's other ways that costs just sneak up on you. Maybe it's bank service charges. Maybe rent went up $100. Maybe the
Credit
property
card
taxes that you're
processing
paying,
fees.
credit card processing fees. There's all kinds of little things that creep up on you, and you look at it in isolation and think it's not that big of a deal, but on a monthly basis it can have an impact on your overhead, which can drain your cash flow and affect your profitability. So just be aware of that overhead creep. I know a lot of people still pay for landlines. Maybe it's time to go to a soft phone situation and save yourself a bunch of money, right? It's just a matter of looking and thinking at those expenses and finding if there's a better way to do them, better way to do it that might save you some money. So timings, and let's dive a little bit more deeper. Timings of inflows and outflows. Um, it's not that you're not making money. You are definitely making money. You're cranking cars out. You're doing a great job servicing those customers, and you're getting rave reviews. It's just that money might not always land in your bank account at the time that you need it to make payroll, for example. So what I mentioned earlier, it's super important to look at your receivables on a regular basis and determine who pays you regularly, when are they paying you, and is there any way to accelerate that payment into your bank account? The less AR that you have, the better cash flow position you'll be in. So you need to be really aware of your AR at all times. So track your aging, and see what you can do to accelerate it.
When I
Remember,
worked at a shop, we were really good about not having a lot of AR. I remember the service desk writer all the time telling clients, "We're not a bank. We're not giving you loans. Right? We fixed your car. Payment is due now."
yeah,
Right? And that's hard. You got to find the right service writer that's willing to put his or her foot down. But people ask for loans all the time. Can I pay you next week? No, payments
nope.
due. I completed the work, right? That's different with fleets or insurance, right? You're dealing with a different entity, but I always remember that we're not a bank, not loaning you money. Sorry. And that's sometimes hard to do.
It is. Also, remember that payroll comes around. Most shops pay every Friday, and you got to make that pay. You got to make that payroll regardless. The minute you miss a payroll day, employees' trust in you can erode, and that's the worst thing that you can have happen to you. So always pay your employees on time and plan for that weekly cash flow out the door. I'm going to mention really briefly that some shops try to finance their business by not paying the payroll taxes. That's the fastest way to get an IRS audit, and it's a bad one. Payroll taxes are not your money, they're your employees' money, and you're a trustee entrusted with submitting that money to the IRS in a timely manner. So don't finance your shop by not paying payroll taxes. Pay your payroll taxes. And the fastest way to fix that is to get an outside payroll service so you don't even have the option. Gusto, ADP, all of them impound the payroll and the taxes on the same day. So you never even have to worry about it.
And payroll is complex. I mean, we're an accounting firm. We don't touch payroll. Please go work with ADP. Please go work with Gusto. The liability is way too high. It's complex. I mean, there's a reason ADP is what, a Fortune 250 company?
200 company. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
payroll's a big deal, but outsource that. That's a well worth it.
Yeah, it really is. Get that out off of your plate. So how do you manage timings like I'm talking about? Build a 13-week cash flow Excel spreadsheet and manage when your cash is coming in, when those debt payments are due, how much payroll is going to be, when's rent due. Just a 13-week cash flow, simple Excel spreadsheet will take you a long, long way. All right. The next cash flow lever is owner distributions. A lot of shops run tight on cash because the owner is drawing out more money than the shop can afford to pay him. That's the reality of the situation. So what we like to do is start with what are the owner's household needs? And a lot of people don't know how much their personal household spends on a monthly basis. So let's say, just for grins, then making it easy that the shop owner is responsible for 100% of the household needs. So he's got to pay his mortgage, he's got to pay for his kids' daycare and tuition, and all the other groceries, electricity. How much does all that add up to? And is it enough for the shop to support that amount? Understanding how much your household needs is critical. That should be factored into your cash flow statement, that weekly cash flow statement. So say it's $10,000 that he has to take out, then somehow he has to figure out how to get $2,500 a week to fund his personal cash flow. Then when things go really well, think about taking a bonus for that vacation or for that new car you wanted to buy, but your weekly cash flow has to support what is needed for your household to live comfortably. Okay, so that's how I make the distinction. Pull out of the money out of the company weekly what your household has to have. When you've got excess profit and you're sure it's excess profit, take that for vacations and other fun things.
And
So
profit first is
create a
something that
system.
helps with this.
It does. It does. And always remember that you need a reserve for that new tech, that new service advisor, better equipment, more marketing. So you can't take every single dollar out of the business. You need a plan. So that 13-week rolling cash flow is invaluable. Debt servicing strategy. As I've already mentioned, a lot of people buy the business with debt. Debt in itself is not a bad thing, but planning for that payment has to be structured into your 13-week cash flow. There's other ways that you can help. You might be able to stretch the payment, get the term to be longer, or refinance it so that the interest rate's lower. It's kind of hard to think now that the interest rate is going to be lower. Yeah, we've all seen several years ago where interest rates were super low. They're not there yet, but always keep an eye on what your loan is and what the local bank is offering, because it could save you some significant cash flow if you can reinvest. So don't put those payments on auto payment. Just automatically really build it into your forecast and think about it and see if there's ways to restructure that. Pay it longer, slower, or faster if your shop is doing really well. Again, planning for new purchases also affects your debt because you might have to structure that with debt. So do that 13-week strategy and bake those payments into it and see if you can afford to buy that new piece of equipment. All right, revenue model. Let's talk about the top line. You can tighten up your expenses all you want, but what really drives the business forward is revenue. So instead of cutting costs, think about ways to increase revenue. I know that most shops set their labor rates based on what competitors are charging or what feels fair or what you've always done, but have you actually done the math to see if your labor rates that you're charging cover your labor costs, your hard costs of what you're paying that technician, plus payrolls, taxes, plus workers' comp, plus their training and benefits. Okay, that should be broken out on your P&L so that it's a really easy calculation and you can keep track of it. Then you can work backwards to see what your minimum rate has to be and set your maximum rate that you want to charge, but know that you're covering those costs at a minimum plus your overhead. Watch out for unbilled time. Really track how busy your technicians are, what is unbilled time, what are you undercharging for. So really keep tags on what your tech is working on. Did he write everything up, he or she? Did something take longer than it should have? And is there a reason to charge the customer more for that repair? And then, of course, what discounts are being provided to keep your customer happy. All of these things you need to keep a close eye on in order to ensure that your shop stays profitable. So let me give you a quick summary again, because I kind of ran through that. Take your total technician payroll, add taxes and benefits, and get your loaded labor costs and compare that to your labor revenue for the same period. Make sure that's broke out on your P&L, okay? It's one of the first things we tackle when we take on a CFO engagement. As I mentioned before, overhead creep. This is a big one, and it's a silent one that just sneaks up on you. It doesn't blow your P&L all at once. It's little bitty cuts that happen over time that you wake up one morning and realize that all of these things have happened and it's eroded your profitability and your cash flow. So check for subscriptions. Check for software tools that you're no longer using, but you're still paying for. Check for subscriptions that you're paying for that you're not using. LinkedIn, for example, LinkedIn Premium is $75 a month. Are we really using that $75 a month LinkedIn Premium, or with the free one do just fine? I've had clients spend $2,000 a month on stuff they're not even using again and thought had been canceled. So pay attention to the subscription.
Meals.
Yes, exactly. Meals are a big one. Personal meals and paying meals for lunch for everybody. That can add up quick, especially today.
We see people that love to go get fancy every once in a while and spend a couple $1,000s on a dinner for friends and whatnot. And it's like, is that really what we want to be doing right now?
Yep. So, do an audit every quarter. Tonight, when you get home, pull your bank statements and look and see what those auto charges are and what you're paying for. Make sure you're not paying for something that you're no longer using. Is the tool still essential? Are you getting 100% use out of it? Is there a cheaper way to get the same result? Back to my example of the landline, using a soft phone instead of the landline with that expensive telephone system. There's ways to recover cost and keep that overhead from creeping up on you. All right, Dylan, I think this is you.
Yep. And why bookkeeping won't always catch this. One, bookkeeping is historical. Two, you lump a lot of things into stuff. I mean, everyone's got a subscription expense account. What's in there, right? And something that really helps with that is to run your P&L by month. So you can say, hey, I usually spend $2,000 a month on subscriptions. Last month is $2,500. What happened? That's going to help you to notice when things are creeping up. You might see that there's just a steady upward trend in an account. But the problem is, best bookkeeping in the world is going to have your P&L be the right length. Not too long, not too short, but you're still grouping things in there. You need to know what's in those accounts, right? And it's all historical. A lot of these issues are strategic. For example, breaking out revenue, cost, and labor cost. Your bookkeeper might be breaking that out. Is anyone looking at it and saying, last month I made $40,000 in labor revenue, but it cost me $35,000. $5,000 is not the profit margin you need on your labor, right? Like, the bookkeeper might be breaking that out. Are you looking at it though? Right. And this is all CFO stuff. You can be your own CFO depending on the size of your shop. You can learn and you can look at that stuff and and really, take it to your coaches. What should my labor profit margin be, based on where I am? You can get all of that. You can also hire fractional CFOs that are, a fraction of the cost of a full-time one, like ours. But get us to be able to break that down for you and say, hey, this is really important. You need to be upping these costs or cutting these costs, right? Um, your bookkeeper, you can have the best bookkeepers in the world, but if you're not looking at the reports and asking, what is this report telling me, you're never going to really know.
And I think bookkeeping is historical, and what everything we're talking about today is strategic and forward looking. You have to forecast, you have to plan, you have to think about it. And that's not what bookkeeping does. Everything has its place. When I look at what we provide on a monthly basis, we build out the 13-week cash flow forecast. We review your pricing model and profit margins. We identify the overhead leaks and discuss them with you. We talk about growth barriers. We guide you through those high level financial decisions and kind of force you to look at the numbers and make some decisions about your business. So all of that can be done internally, or you can hire someone out to help you. One other thing that we wanted to working at, what we really want to talk about is how helpful Profit First can be. Profit First can really help you determine what happens next and save your money for debt, for taxes, and for your pay. So if you haven't read the book, Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, it's a super easy read. If you like audio, listen to the audio book. He is a hilarious guy, and he narrates his own audio book. So the audio book is really a lot of fun. But we love Profit First. All of our shops run Profit First, and they are addicted to it. We have one shop owner who is pushing 10 million this year, and he still does Profit First every Tuesday on the back of an envelope. So again, bookkeeping tells you what happened. Profit First helps you save for the future and put money into buckets. It's very similar to your grandmother's cash envelope system, but with bank accounts instead to be more modernized this year. So you set up, it's all mechanical. You should identify this very well. You set up bank accounts to handle your profit, your owner's pay, your taxes, and your operating expenses. At least twice a month. Most of our auto repair owners do it every week. The allocations, you take the money that you received and allocate it into those various bank accounts. And then profit and taxes are already saved for, and you can see exactly how much money you have for OPEX. Some also create accounts for vendors and payroll. So that's an option as well. You can, if there's ever a question, Mike says, if there's ever a question, open a bank account, and it makes everything a lot easier, and he's not wrong. We also have owners that specifically have an income tax bank account, but they also do a sales tax account. So they'll take off the top every week. In Texas, it's 8.25%. They'll take off, if they received $1,000, they'll take 8.25% of that and just sweep it into that sales tax account, so that when it's time to make their sales tax payment, the money's just sitting there waiting for them to do it.
And hopefully you're using a system like TechMetrics that, basically already calculates it for you, so you know what to move over exactly.
Yeah, you don't even have to do the calculation. You can just look at TechMetrics and it'll tell you, or Shopware. So that's one of the things we also do. We help you implement Profit First. We'll help you run the allocations and adjust those allocations as needed. And then we track those allocations along with your 13-week forecast. So this again is a strategic looking forward kind of thing.
And it also helps you to know when you get paid your owner's compensation and your profit, it's yours. You're not putting it back in the bank. I know that's something that a lot of people worry about. I pay myself and then it ends up going right back. You use the system. When you pay yourself, it's yours. Don't worry about it.
And you don't have to think about it. So let's talk about what we provide our clients and how you can DIY what we do as well.
So weekly financial check-ins, right? Learn to review your books weekly. You can hop on, pick a day of the week and log in, look at your income statement and run it by week, by month, right? make sure it's all working well. Make sure if you're doing this yourself or if you have a bookkeeper, if you're using hopefully Techmetrics or Shopware, does that match what your revenue section says? Right? It's a really easy check. And most of y'all are a whole lot more comfortable with those systems than QuickBooks. But that's a really easy check. Make sure you're checking in, moving your money, making payroll, all that good stuff, right? With us, we handle it all for you. We do all the reconciliations for you. You don't have to double check it. You get to log in, just see what the numbers are, right, on a weekly basis. Profit first cash management. You can read the book. Nancy already said it. It's super easy. Even if you're not a reader, read the first 50 pages of it, and you're going to be like, I get it. It's not that complex of a system, but man, it works. Right? Read the book, open the accounts, do it, ask some questions. Or we can help you with it, right? We'll tailor it, we'll do all of it. You don't have to read the book. I still recommend you read the book or listen to the audio book. Mike is funny, but we'll help you implement it and know what to do every month. 13-week cash flow management. You can build and maintain your own. If you don't know what to do, print out your current P&L to Microsoft Excel and run it forward and then see what you think is going to happen. Look through the historics. Does it always slump really hard in December? Probably don't have that your revenue's going up in December. You can just compare and contrast what your historical stuff has been and look at it going forward. Hey, I'm putting more into marketing, so I'd like to see this go up. And then you're just going to compare every month what happened. Did I meet it? Did I not meet it? Right? There's a ton of different ways you can run your cash flow forecasts. With us, we do it for you. And then we sit down and just tell you to look at it and walk you through it, right? Just a whole lot easier. We have a little bit more experience with it. We've done it a few times. We're generally pretty good at our allocations and percentages. So again, just makes it easier, but you can definitely do it yourself. The strategic planning, what do you want to do? What is your goals? How do you get there, right? Set a goal out there and then work backwards how to reasonably achieve that goal. With us, we'll facilitate that, right? What is reasonable? What's unreasonable but possible, right? If you want to get to a $10 million shop, we've got shops that do it. We can tell you how they did it. Again, just kind of makes it smoother and easier. But bottom line, you can do all of this stuff. It's just what's worth your time as the business owner and what isn't worth your time and what's going to help accelerate you to reach your goals.
Yeah.
So key takeaways from today: cash flow is strategy, right? You can't just look at a spreadsheet, can't just look at your P&L. Doesn't tell you the whole story. You got to take a big picture view. Profit first works because it forces good behavior. We like profit first so much, we use it, right? Like we practice what we preach here. It's a phenomenal system that we love. And better systems equals more cash flow, and you're going to sleep better at night at the end of the day. So, if the quote at the bottom sums it up perfectly.
So let's see. Okay. So we got a question that says, my P&L shows a profit, but I can't afford to pay myself more. How do I fix that?
Yeah. That's super frustrating. And we get that question all the time. What's eating up your profit on the P&L is your distributions that are not recorded on your P&L, your debt payments that are not recorded on your P&L, and your credit card payments. That's what's eating up your profit. So when tax times comes around and your tax preparer says you made a profit and you don't feel like you did, it's because of these other things that are going on that are not reflected on the P&L. The way to fix that is the 13-week cash flow so that you can see exactly what's going on and making sure that everything lines up and you're not going to run short on cash. And then, what the question is how do I make more profit? Well, that's a matter of fixing your revenue, looking at the overhead. Yeah. Again, get back to the labor rates, back to your parts margin, and look at your overhead creep and make sure that you have that dialed in. That's the way to make more profit and put more money in your pocket.
Well, great. Dylan, did you want to add anything before I move on to the next question?
I think she hit it.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, so here is another one of our questions that came in. They want to know how they can check to see if their labor rate actually covers all of their costs without spending hours and hours in spreadsheets. So is there a quick, streamlined way you guys would recommend doing that?
I mean, clean books is I mean, there's a reason our slogan is it starts with the books. You want to know what your rates are. You kind of need to be able to get that information. So if you don't have it in your QuickBooks file or your profit and loss isn't clean, go look at TechMetrics or Shopware. It should be breaking it out, right? So that'll give you what you're charging for labor. You know, go to ADP, who, you got three guys in the back. What are you paying them, right? You can go calculate it manually. Hopefully you've got clean books and you can just get in there and say, hey, labor revenue for last month was this. Payroll, for techs last month was this. Here's their 401k and their benefits. What's my ratio, right? There's a lot of ways to get there. And at least at a minimum, know if you're in a ballpark, right? If you brought $40,000 in last month and it cost you 35, probably not there. I don't even get down to the pennies to know that my ratio is not there at that point.
Yeah, that's good, Dylan. I agree. You got to look at your books.
Well, thank you guys so much. Let's see. Okay, looks like we got time for another question. Okay, there's two that look pretty good. I'll let you guys decide which one you want to answer. So we have one question that's about paying down debt. Then we have another question that is about what to prioritize when slashing expenses. What would you guys prefer
Let's
to
do
talk
that
about?
one. Let's do the
Okay.
last
That's
one.
a lot better.
I think that's super important is that, you have to realize that cutting costs is a very short-term Band-Aid. Cutting costs means that you're cutting technicians that work and make revenue for you, or you're cutting marketing that goes out and tells people that you're here and makes revenue for you. Cutting costs, only cut costs that are not driving revenue, and then switch your attention to driving revenue by having techs available, by pricing correctly, by upping your marketing spend to the point you can, or getting innovative about marketing ideas that will bring more people into your shop. So don't focus on cutting costs, focus on increasing revenue. That's the real plan to grow your business.
Nailed it.
All right. I think we're just about out of time, Jacob.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for attending our webinar. And thank you to Nancy and Dylan for offering such great advice. I know I learned a lot, and I hope our audience did too. We really appreciate you coming. Please share any information you learned with your friends. You can give them our YouTube channel. It's a great way to become a better business owner and to help the people in your life find more success and freedom. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. If you want to find more information, you can see our contact info on the screen there. We've got an email, info@redlineba.com. You can give us a phone call at 512-518-5556. Once again, we've got a YouTube channel. On our website, we have lots of great information, and we will see you again in the next month and a half for our next webinar.